Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by the members of oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with manic-expression.com, the site that is currently celebrating its 1-year anniversary. Happy anniversary, Manic Expression, and may there be many more.
Sober, life is a prison. Shit-faced, it is a blessing. Sober, nobody wants you. Shit-faced, they're all undressing. Oh, sober, it's ever darker. Shit-faced, the moon is nearer. Sober, you're old and ugly. Shit-faced, who needs a mirror? Oh, sober, you're a Cro-Magnon. Shit-faced, you're very clever. Sober, you never should be. Shit-faced, I gotta get too drunk to dream, 'cause dreaming only makes me blue. I gotta get too drunk to dream, because I only dream of you. I gotta get too pissed to miss you, or I'll never get to sleep. I gotta drink wine not to find for you, and God knows that ain't cheap. I know you think I'm insane, I know it's not appealing, but till I'm feeling no pain, guess what I'll be feeling? I gotta get too drunk to dream, 'cause dreaming only makes me blue. I gotta get too drunk to dream, because I only dream of you. I gotta get too fried to cry, or I'll be crying all night long. I gotta get too high to sigh, oh my God, where did I go wrong? So why do I get plastered, and why am I so lonely? It's you, you heartless bastard, you're my one and only. I gotta get too drunk to dream, 'cause dreaming only makes me blue. I gotta get too drunk to dream, because I only dream of you. I gotta get too pissed to miss you, or I'll never get to sleep. I gotta drink wine not to pine for you, and God knows that ain't cheap. And God knows that ain't cheap.
Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard to episode 7 of Casual Chats. I am Patricia.
I'm Kevin.
And today we are going to be honoring a very special occasion, and that is the very first anniversary of the associated site that we go into called Manic Expression. For those who don't know, Manic Expression was a site that came around on January 24th, 2011. The founder of the site was James Daniel Walsh, and he decided to put up the site as and started to invite anybody who wanted to fully express on what they wanted to talk about. And with me today is the founder himself. Please welcome aboard James Daniel Walsh. James, welcome aboard to Casual Chats.
Thank you for having me.
So, James, we have a few questions for you and a couple of topics that we wanted to discuss about, so let's get right into it. So, how did you get started with Manic Expression?
Well, actually, I mean, the credit really does go to the fanfic critic, because I had gotten to a point where I felt like I wasn't really enjoying blogging on other sites anymore, and I was telling her, I don't know, this might be the end of Stop the Hate for me. And she said, well, hang on a second, let me try something. And the next thing I know, she sends me a link, and she set up a site that was Manic Expression site on the same server as NetDwellers, her site. And it was literally just like the home page, and pretty much that was it. It said stop. I remember it said stop the hate across the top. And as soon as I saw it, I said, I guess I'm going to keep going then. And I talked to Les and asked him if he would partner up with me, help me recruit some people, and off we went.
All right, that's a really great story. So, one of the very first things that you did come up with for your before you became Manic Expression was obviously Stop the Hate, where you're talking about topics and issues that doesn't need as much hate as everybody makes it out to be, whether it be movies or whether it be topics such as bullying or nerds or just the one that you talked about was snow. So, how did you come up with the name of Stop the Hate, and what made you decide to do it?
I was in the middle of a final edit on my book, and I had decided that when the book was done that I was going to stop writing, because if I write, then I never ever focus on the business side of things, because I absolutely hate the business side of things. And I knew that if I was ever going to actually do anything with the stories, I had to just stop writing. But I knew that without a creative outlet that I was going to go a little bit crazy. So I just thought I would do this little series that was only supposed to be 2 blogs. I always saw this connection between the kind of venom that you see directed at certain movies or certain actors, and the exact same kind of venom that you see directed at politicians or religion. And I thought, I see this connection. I'd like to try and, over 10 articles, point out this connection. And about halfway through, it just kind of took off. And I was having so much fun with it and meeting so many great people, I just decided to keep going.
Well, I must say that Stop the Hate is definitely one of my favorite things to view on the site. Whenever I read Stop the Hate, or whenever I see your video, I always think to myself, there are some things in which it doesn't deserve to be as hated as much. Maybe it wasn't as either good as it should have been, or maybe it is a bit mediocre, or maybe it just doesn't deserve to be hated at all. Yet at the same time, each and every single one of us, as nice as some of us can be, we all have a little bit of a cynical side towards something. And it's nice to see that somebody...
Especially...
yeah. So it's nice to see somebody broaden it out in a way that we would never have thought of. Like, for example, I think one of my favorite ones that I read was when you were talking about Stop the Hate on the 90s. Talking about that, yes, the 90s was a quiet decade, and some people would say that it was, nothing really exciting happened compared to other decades that previously happened. And then the quote ended with a quote from Fight Club, in which it said that, we had our own, ourselves, we are like the Great Depression. And we were raised on television, and we thought that we were going to be like these famous stars. And then when we find out we didn't, we were immediately pissed off, which is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one where I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand that kind of, because everybody really embraces the 80s.
Yes, I agree. Even Kevin and myself, we do embrace the 80s. We embrace a lot of time periods, and other time periods we embrace is also the 50s before the whole Joseph McCarthy era. Can you agree, Kevin?
Yeah, it's were good too, man. I mean, you had so many good stuff in the 90s. I mean, you had Nirvana, you had Nickelodeon, you had a slew of great in that era, because in 99 you had the Columbine shooting, which was a very traumatic moment in history. But I don't hate the 90s or anything. I don't see why people really have that, why they always got a diss on the 90s. But to each their own. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions and whatnot.
Yeah, I find it more. I love. I'm a really big fan of Movie Bob over on. What's the name of that site? He does Escape to the Movies and shows like that. But he always uses this graphic whenever he talks about the 90s, where it's the quote from the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, where suck. And I hear that all the time. Oh, the 90s sucked, and I never understood it.
Oh, trust me, when you're doing the Nickelodeon tribute, everybody will say the 90s rocked. So...
Well, yeah, but if you're going to talk about cartoons, I mean, you know, Batman the Animated Series and Animaniacs.
Obviously.
And, you know, so many great things. And, you know, I always just felt like, yeah, it's a quieter decade. It's not as flashy as the 80s was. There may be, you know, the 80s was a lot like the 50s. And, you know, obviously the 50s had a lot of nostalgia.
Definitely.
But the 90s was one of those decades where it was a little bit less of look at me, and a little bit more of actually putting some thought into things, expressing things a little bit more quieter and with a little bit more thought to them, and people just seem to hate that.
Trust me, in every single decade, there's always going to be at least one flaw, and in hindsight, you don't want to put just one big, huge F you to just one particular decade. And that is why, you know, with that post as well as other posts, like another post that video that I really like was about men when they when they look at themselves. I really enjoyed that one where you and Creepy were talking about that men have problems with how they appear and how they look, and I thought that was amazing because 99% of the time you hear that with women, and with a man's perspective that was brilliant. There are some times in which, like Kevin for example, he feels, you know, he has issues with that. And to see something like that was just fantastic.
That was one thing. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just saying thanks, Patty. Thank you very much for volunteering me.
Oh, come on, Kevin.
Would you like to tell us all about it?
No, I was just joking around. I was just like, the way she just said it, like I have it. Like, no, I was just joking around. It's okay. I was just joking around. But go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, continue.
That was one where it actually turned out that Creepy and I both had the same idea. He wanted to do one like that, and I had mentioned that I was thinking of doing one. And, you know, we started discussing it, how we wanted to approach it, and I already knew it was going to make me uncomfortable. I knew that it was going to be something, because it's one of those things where you sit there and you point out your flaws, you know. The thing that you're hoping no one notices, and I knew I had to sit there and point them out, and but you know, when I realized that, I said to Creepy, I said, you know how we have to do this, right? I said we have to do it naked.
Yes.
Have to sit there in front of the camera and point out everything, and that was, I mean, that's actually one of the things. It's the reason the videos. You know, I'm not Tim Deanna, and I'm not Big Black Hat Man. I'm not one of these people who really is going to sit there and edit something and get it perfect and throw in a bunch of clips and everything.
Or Decker Shadow.
Or Decker Shadow, or so many people on the site who are so good at that.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, it was one of those things where I felt like, you know, if we could just sit here and have a discussion about, and I can kind of open up. It became one of those things where I was, you know, when I look back at the video, I was stiff and wooden and intimidated by it. And over time, it really was something where I was able to overcome that and start to do things that otherwise would terrify me to do. So it's one of the reasons I keep doing it. It's almost a form of therapy for me to do the videos. The videos are more for me. The blogs are more something I write and I put out there for everybody else. The videos are more my thing.
That sounds great. Kevin, do you have a question?
No, go ahead.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right. Well, okay. So we already got a little brief recap about how the site came up to be and where you got started with posting about your other blogs such as Stop the Hate. So so let's just go rewind back to January in 2011. You got the site all up, and now you're starting to recruit people. So. How did you think it was going to turn out the first moment that you had Manic Expression up?
I didn't think it was going to turn out. I said to Les, you know, my goals were so modest. I said, if we can get 25 people in like the first 6 months, I'd be happy.
Yeah. And when I signed up around February, I think I was the 50th member.
Yeah. By the third month, we had hit 100 members.
Well, yeah, and by then we had the 100 member special, which was fantastic. In which the group of the people who were able to come in singing "Too Drunk to Dream," which I actually have as the intro to the podcast. Actually, for those who don't know. So, what made you decide that in every 100 members you're going to have a special? I mean, when you have a site that is hugely successful, they don't really do any celebrations about it. When I was in Wolvolution back in 2006, we had at least, I don't know, probably over about 1 million members, and we didn't get any celebrations for that, that's for sure. So what made you decide to do this? To do, each 100 members, there will be a special.
Well, the first one was really just, I felt like it was a milestone. I always felt like, because I stopped recruiting after 100 members. That had been kind of my big job, was to be a recruiter. And because I knew if we could make it to 100 member specials, we could survive. Or if we could make it to 100 members, we could survive. If we couldn't get there, then the site was never going to really pick up. So for me, it was a celebration of, we made it. We're going to be okay. But it was also like, and it was what Les and I had agreed on early on with the site, was it's got to be about the members.
And out of all the members that you've seen over the years, because you've actually known some of these members for about 2 years or so, right?
Oh, I've been doing South 8 for about 3+ years now, so I've known some of these for a while, yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you've known a lot of these members for quite some time now. Who would you say has grown, really much as a video editor or blogger from when you first knew them, and then afterwards they just blossomed into one of the most, a really great blogger or provider on the site?
There's a lot.
I can imagine.
The one that kind of stands out for me, because I knew him when he was asking me. He was saying, I think I kind of want to do blogs, but I'm not sure. And that's Movie Fan 12.
Oh yeah, I know who he is. The Disney guy.
Yeah, I look at Disney, and
currently he's working on Once Upon a Time blogs.
And he would read Stop the Hate back when I was posting it on That Guy with the Glasses. And I remember him writing me and saying, I kind of want to do this, and what do you think about if I just did Disney stuff? And I said, yeah, just, there'll be an audience for it. And I remember it was great because he started off and he was very kind of worried about doing it. But within a few blogs, he was like one of the most popular bloggers there.
I can imagine. I mean, talking about everything Disney, it reacts into almost every single person who used to grow up with Disney, or still do. So I can imagine him picking up in a heartbeat. And his...
Very nostalgic.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Silly Symphonies and all that good stuff.
You think he would run out of material.
Well, of course.
Years ago.
I don't think he will run out of material, and if he does, he still has other things to post about. There's always the Disney memorabilia, and then there's, he's talking about Once Upon a Time right now, which is a fantastic show. So I think, he's a really great guy, and I'm hoping that he, continues doing great. Anybody else want to talk about?
Like I said, there's so many people. I'm trying not to get myself into trouble by omitting people.
No problem.
But I mean, as far as videos go, I mean, like I said, some of the people that we mentioned, like Decker Shadow, and that long-haired creepy guy, and Tim Deanna. Tim Deanna works his ass off.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that guy. I get emails sometimes like, I think I'm going to be late with this week's episode, and I'm trying to make sure that I get it out, and it's like, this guy cares that he gets it to you on time. And that, I find that, and he always is coming to me with ideas and different things that we can do as a site. He's, editing the 200 member special as we speak, and he's great. I mean, I did a podcast with him about a week ago. And,
I listened to it about the year in review, where you were talking with Big Black Catman and Brett Club 85 and Infamous Jack. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's not just the thing that I love too is it's not just that they're really talented people. It's that they are they have no ego about it, and some of these people. I mean, you look at like Comic Book Cast, for instance. He's got a lot of subscribers. I mean, a lot of people view his stuff on YouTube.
Oh, I know. It's unbelievable.
And yet he shows up here all the time, to post here, and there's just no ego about it. It's just like...
Yeah, because... Definitely.
I'll post here too.
Right, because ordinarily when it comes to people like Armin and Joel and Sean and Ben and Tom and all those people at Comic Book Cast... Whenever, they started off small, too. They didn't know any better, and then they started talking about comics, and then after a while, they had, over 1,000 subscribers, and it's great that they still post here, because even though that they have their own website now, and even though they have their own fan base, they could have just said, Manic Expression, you guys were awesome, but now we have our own stuff, so let's go. It's nice that they are able to keep their humbleness in them, which is not easy, by the way, especially when you're making it almost... as big as the top guys out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many people here who... I love watching their stuff, I love reading their stuff, and then I get to actually talk to them, which is so cool.
That's great. So, let's see. What if I had... I think I had my list right here of questions. So, talking about all of that and bringing everything into fruition, you have, you start, getting the 100 members in, and then as time goes on, you start developing new ideas, like the podcast place, for example. When you first announced it, you were talking about, like, Orson Welles with the Mercury Theater radio station and, how they were able to discuss about stories and just broaden it out. And you decided to do that in a podcast form in which, members from the site, you didn't have to hire like actors or, we all did it ourselves. So how did you come up with that idea? And, so how did you come up with that idea?
It was one of those things.
Yes. I'm being monotonous and redundant.
One of those things, like with the documentary, like with the 100 member special, I absolutely pulled it out of my ass. I was just one day thought, I came up with the idea for my play, and I thought, my first instinct was, I know somebody here in Minnesota who works for a theater company, and I thought, I'll take the script to him, maybe I can get something done with it. And then I thought, wait a minute, I know a lot of people who are performers. Why don't I just put the play on at the site? And like with the 100 member special and like with the documentary, I really didn't know how it would go over. I thought, I'm just going to throw it out there and see what people think. And within 24 hours, I had the entire thing cast. I had somebody volunteer to edit it. I had Les saying, I'll do the music. You came to me and said, I have a play too. Want to do a double feature?
Yes, I came up with that idea because I thought that, when you start off something, let's start off something with a bang. And I had a play that I written a few years ago that was inspired by something I did while I was doing improv and acting in high school. And I wrote it down a while ago, and I thought to myself, it would be so nice if we can be able to combine them together and have something big. And I thought you were going to say no, maybe next time, but you went all for it.
Well, I thought, especially when you told me it was a comedy, because I was very worried that my play was, it was the launch play. It was the first play.
Yes.
And it was depressing as hell.
It was. It was depressing. And
I thought,
it's very good.
Well, thank you. But I thought, what a sort of bittersweet first experience this would be. Yay, we pulled it off. God, I want to just cut my wrists now.
Yeah, I originally wanted to do a very serious, bittersweet ending play as well, but you said we need a comedy, and so I already had a comedy, so that's how it happened. And you were worried at first because you couldn't find any actresses.
Yeah, well, that was with that first play, Vows. That was because I came from trying to do movies and actually doing movies at certain points, and it was never a problem finding actors. Every guy wants to act. Every guy would be gung-ho for it. Every guy would be in front of the camera having a good time. And then when it came to actresses, it was always, I don't have to kiss anybody, do I? Because I have a boyfriend.
Right.
And it was like...
Yes, Kevin has that experience as well when he was trying to cast for his movie.
Yeah, and it's...
Wait, what?
Remember you were talking about, that you were having problems with your actress in your movie The Collector?
No, it wasn't an actress. It was, long story short, sorry to cut you off, James, not quick. It wasn't, it was really about commitment. It was really about, we had everything set, but then it was as soon as we were ready to roll, everybody sort of, I don't want to do this. They lost interest in it already. It was like, you didn't have that dedication and passion, was passionate like you were before. So, I mean, that was the issue with my thing. And it's hard to find dedicated people
Yeah,
who don't want to do it, you know what I mean?
It's always fun to get that call on shooting day, and it's like, where are you? Oh, I got invited to this party.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that just, like, annoys the hell out of me when that happens. I want to just, like, go,
And that was really my worry with the play was I thought, is this going to just be a repeat of that? And I had no problems. The entire thing went so smoothly. It was the exact opposite of everything that trying to make a movie was.
Yeah, and about, less than an hour after you posted, there were 50 comments saying that it was great?
Yep.
That was just crazy.
And that was the middle of the night.
Yeah, I know. People were staying up all the way towards midnight so they can actually see this. And you would think that, maybe they'll do it the next day, around 7 or 8 a.m. But no, they actually stayed up all night just so they can hear the very first ever podcast play.
Yeah, that was very humbling.
Yeah, that was great.
Not something that I expected, and that was really, so far, that would be my proudest moment here on the site.
Same here for me, too.
Though that may very well end up being changed when the documentary comes out, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into it in a little bit. But definitely the podcast play, if you guys haven't listened to it, it's called Vows and High Class Academy. Go over to the site and check it out.
And Big Black Hat Man has one out as well.
And we will be having ours out probably by the end of the week. It's called Little Monsters. Not to be confused with Lady Gaga's followers. It's not her biography. Anyway, so that out of the way. Another question that I wanted to ask James was regarding about how you present yourself at the site as a whole. I was talking about it last week in my blog post called Stereotypes on the Internet, in which it involves with how people perceive to give us stereotypical names, such as you're the foreign guy, you're the leader, you're the administrator, you're the girly, you're the token chick. So, how do you see yourself as the leader for the site?
I always just saw myself as kind of another member.
Right.
I'm actually pleased that, under my name it says site owner, which is just something that it's there. There's nothing I can do about it. But it's one of those things where I don't think of myself that way. I realize that I get, there are behind the scenes things that I'm involved in, and decisions that I have to make. But so often I'll wake up one day and there'll be a major change to the site that I had no idea was coming. For instance, when I woke up one day and we'd had this, it said Manic Expression at the top, and it was just it was from the template that the site offered. And one day I just woke up and there was this logo that Oliver Judd had designed. And Fusinator had figured out how to put it up there at the top of the site. And the entire format of the front page had been changed. And I remember getting an email going, "Oh, I hope you don't mind." I'm like, "Mind? Thank you. Please take initiative." Because so much, I'm not a tech guy. I'm not somebody who can sit there and write code. I don't know how to manipulate things here on the site very well. So when people step up and say, "I can do this," I say, "Please, please, please do."
That's fantastic. Oliver Judd's fantastic when it comes to logos or anything like that. He was the one who designed the poster for our podcast play. Fantastic.
And the poster, he worked with Y-Boy to do the poster for the documentary, which by the time everybody hears this, I'm sure will be up there on the front page.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. I can't wait for it. There's can you give us a tiny bit of a synopsis of what to expect for the documentary?
Yeah. Well, actually, I guess by the time this goes up, everybody will have seen the poster and everything. So it's no secret that the title of the documentary is Manic Expression, Creative Chaos. And I have seen the trailer, and again, I'm sure by the time this is up, everybody else will have seen the trailer. And I've also seen a clip from it. And I'll admit, I went into this project very, not skeptical, but a little bit worried that we could pull it off in a way that, because this was meant to be something that could be seen beyond the site. That something we could maybe one day get up on Netflix or sell in some way. Because I felt like it wasn't just, I didn't want it to be a commercial for the site. I wanted it to be something where, because I like weird, quirky documentaries about little subjects.
Yeah.
And,
or when it comes to quirky people as well.
Yeah. And I thought this would be something that, even if I wasn't a member of Manic Expression, if I stumbled upon it, I'd be interested to watch this. And Decker Shadow, who's did the directing and is putting it together right now. I've seen a clip of it, about a 7-minute clip, and it looks like a documentary. I mean, it doesn't like, oh, we're just staring into our webcams and it's really awkward and everything. It looks like something that you would see, from a professional documentary crew. And I watched it, and it's sort of a 7-minute clip, like it shows me, and then it's got my name at the bottom, like a documentary would. And it transitions, it cuts to fanfic critic talking about something, and it cuts to Y-Boy talking about something, and I'm like, this is working. This actually looks like a real, and it's a real documentary. So this is something that I cannot praise Decker enough. He is really, really working his ass off on it. And I think when this comes out, that will be a real turning point for the site.
Not only that, but it'll definitely be a standout. You have sites that have been up for like maybe 2, 3, 4, even 10 years, and they would never imagine something like this. Wolvolution, the group that I was in there for 3 years, and nowadays the site is almost a decade old. And, all they do is just play games. They would never even consider doing something like a documentary talking about all the people who were there at one point. So seeing something like this, it's definitely going to be definitely be a foundational point to anybody who wants to get started on something like this. I really must commend you for it.
Well, this was just an idea I pulled out of my ass.
Definitely you should. Well, for those who want to be successful, don't use your brain to come up with ideas. Use your ass.
But all the praise right now should go to Decker. I mean, he's I may have come up with the idea, but he's the one putting it together.
Decker, we thank you for it, and keep up the awesome work. So, let's just, I believe that we can just wrap up, so just a few more questions, and then afterwards we can just talk about upcoming projects, and then afterwards we can say our goodbyes. Okay. So, another one that you recently came up with, another post that you recently came up with was the What If They Remade series. And because of that, I was able to do my list of the top 20 Nickelodeon shows that I want to see remade. So I'm taking that this is another idea that you pulled out of your ass and you thought it would probably not work at first, but then it turned out to be good?
Well, that one, I remember I was rewatching the Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
And I just started playing this game in my head of, all right, if they made this now, who would be in it? And I started coming up with some kind of interesting ideas, and I thought, I'd like to just kind of throw this out there and just see what people think of it. And people responded well, so I thought, okay, I'll do a few more.
Which is surprising, by the way, because nowadays with people being so nostalgic about everything, they want to cling to the originals.
And I point out in almost every article where it's something that's really sacred, like Star Wars, it's like, I'm not saying it should be remade. I'm saying, look, they're gonna. At some point, everything is being remade.
Absolutely.
So
they're gonna remake it. Aren't they gonna remake it? Aren't they?
No, they're actually gonna do Star Wars Episode 7. So, as far as, like, remaking from Episodes 1 through 6, I don't think yet. Maybe, who knows, maybe 10, 20, or 30 years from now, maybe they will. But from all the movies that James was reviewing, like Indiana Jones and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Citizen Kane and all these movies, you're right. Eventually, maybe they will be remade. And, you know, the casting, casting people to who's going to be in this new remake, I think has got to be the most difficult out of all of them. I actually tried to do casting in my mind when I was doing my top 20 Nickelodeon shows that should be remade, and I couldn't think of anybody that should be the new Gary or Tucker from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or I couldn't think of anybody who should be the new Clarissa for Clarissa Explains It All. Or I couldn't think of anybody who could be the new Alex Mack or the new cast for Space Cases. That was hard. How did you come up with the ideas of this person should be cast for the new Indiana Jones, or this person should be cast for the new Terminator, or Han Solo?
Well, the trick I figured out really quick was that because your first instinct, for instance, with Indiana Jones, which was one of the hardest ones to do.
I can imagine.
The first instinct is not who can play Indiana Jones, but who can play Harrison Ford.
Right.
That's the very first thing you go to because you have this set in your mind. This is Indiana Jones. This is what he looks like. This is what he acts like. And you have to actually be able to take yourself out of that and say, not who can play Harrison Ford, who can play
Indiana Jones, right?
And it is kind of a bit of a puzzle. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle, and once you can kind of break out of thinking about the original. I'm with Indiana Jones. I remember I because you go to the ones that look like Harrison Ford. You go to Nathan Fillion. You go to Bradley Cooper, and you think they could kind of be Harrison Ford. They work as Indiana Jones. And as soon as you've broken through and you thought of somebody outside of the box, suddenly it becomes something where you go, I'd go see that. I wouldn't be as up in arms. I wouldn't be the rest of the crowd and have the pitchfork and the torches. I'd go, that's kind of interesting. So it's for me, it's much more, it's a fun puzzle to just sit there and go, who could actually reinvent this character, and I would be interested to see that.
Right. And the idea of having an all-black cast for the new remake of Indiana Jones was, must say, kind of risky.
I worried about that one. I thought, because I remember when Idris Elba was cast in Thor, and everybody was like, that character in the comic book, he's white. You can't have a black actor playing. And I thought, man, I'm going to be putting him as Indiana Jones. But, it's one of those things. I worry about it less than I used to because the worst thing that anybody on Manic Expression is going to say is, I don't see it. Nobody's going to get on Manic Expression and say, you're an idiot.
No.
And list the reasons why you suck. You don't get that kind of a thing here, so it frees you up to kind of throw out ideas otherwise be more worried to do.
And what are your upcoming ideas for the new for What If They Remade series?
You know what? Sometimes it's literally just week to week. Right now, I don't even know what the next one will be. It's one of those things. Sometimes I panic and I go, "Oh crap! It's Monday."
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Well, I think with the new Oz movie, Oz the Great and Powerful, what if they remade The Wizard of Oz? Because we already know the 1939 movie was a classic, but what if they upped it for the 21st century?
If they updated,
we all know it would make a great movie.
Yeah, it would do that, yes.
We all know you were born to be a Judy Garland. You were born to be a Judy Garland.
Yes. Liza, honey, would you give Mama your special Fresca? Okay.
Wait, she sounds. Wait. Where the hell did that come from?
You know the way that Judy Garland used to be like this really big alcoholic, and she would tell Liza Minnelli to get her special Fresca.
I didn't know she had a southern accent.
I'm doing a bad Judy Garland. Don't judge me.
I was like, where the hell did that come from? Like,
I don't know.
You're not challenging your inner Scarlett O'Hara or something like that? Because I don't remember having a thick southern accent. But
I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't judge me.
That's okay. I didn't judge you. Did you Ewok? Your Wookiee thing.
Oh my god, not the Wookiee thing.
Did I miss something about the Wookiee thing?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, tell her, Patty. Tell her.
Oh, in one of our podcasts, I actually do a Wookiee call. It's yeah, but you don't want to hear it. You don't
Yes, Patty.
Okay, it's like that.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
It's better than I could do.
Yeah, don't.
I can't even do it, so I praise Patty for that one because I can't even do it. If I did it, it sounds like I'm choking on mouthwash. So I can't. I'd be terrible at Star Wars conventions.
Yeah, don't mind me. So, anyway, Wizard of Oz would be a really good one for What If They Remade series. That would be a really good one. Yeah, I think maybe Wizard of Oz would be a good one to consider.
Wizard of Oz would be a good one to actually, sometimes, not that Judy Garland wasn't obviously tremendous in the part.
No.
It was really supposed to be for somebody much younger.
Yes.
And so there is that sort of, I remember when I did Highlander, it was great to actually be able to cast a Scotsman as the Highlander.
Right.
And to actually get the people, that was an interesting one because instead of looking at people and saying, well, it doesn't have to be a specific race, it was like, you know what, the races were completely wrong in the original. I'd kind of like to see if I could do it and cast an actual Egyptian in the Sean Connery role and somebody who actually fits into the movie.
Right.
I actually have a question to ask you, James. What are your top 5 favorite movies?
Kevin, he actually already made a movie about it. Tell us, James, what are your top 5 favorite movies?
Top 5.
Thanks, Patty.
Sorry, Kev.
I did do my 100 favorite, and the top 5, if I recall correctly, Superman is number 1. The first Superman. Lord of the Rings. I count that as one movie. The 3 movies. Psycho, To Kill a Mockingbird, and the original Star Wars trilogy.
Well, To Kill a Mockingbird is actually my favorite.
That's one of those movies where if I had to name what I felt was the best movie, it would be To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, it's so unbelievably flawless, the way that they were able to portray the book, and everybody was just so unbelievably likable. I absolutely find no flaws into this. That's why I just love it so much.
James, Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
To Kill a Mockingbird is one of those movies where I actually think they kind of improved on the book.
Yes, definitely.
Because I remember, like, in the book, there's the character of the aunt that's brought in.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought, this character adds nothing.
Right.
And it always took me out of the book a little bit. Whenever she was involved, it was sort of like, I gotta get through this to get to the good stuff.
It's a chore.
And they rightfully sort of cut that out of the movie.
Yes. Not that Harper, not that the original book wasn't bad. It's just that they tweaked a few things that made it better.
Yeah, but it's one of those. I mean, if they made it today, I actually have a video coming up where I do talk about how they have a tendency of splitting. They'll make a book into a movie, and then they split the movie into two parts so that they can cram in every last little tiny detail that's in the book. And I make the point that you don't have to do that in an adaptation. You're supposed to cut stuff out. You're supposed to trim that. In a book, you can kind of get into a more immersive experience. In a movie, it's got to move. And, I bring up, like, the recent Hobbit movie, which I thought was, at times, tough to sit through because it's like, all right, yeah, I know that's in the book, but come on! Get to the story,
Okay, so one final question, and that would be, so what's coming up next?
The documentary and the 200-member special. 200-member special, actually, I heard from Tim Deanna, it should be ready sometime in the next few days.
Great.
Anytime, really, in the next few days. Obviously, your podcast play, Little Monsters.
Yep.
Creep has got a podcast play coming up called Mason Dixon. I have a podcast play coming up called Bloodshot. I did want to mention one thing that I wanted to get out there was this manic expression group therapy that we're trying to get off the ground called The Couch. That Rich B is mediating. He's not. He has a degree, but he is not a trained therapist. But he has agreed to lead this group therapy session. We have been having some technical difficulties getting the chat room going and everything, but we're going to try and get that straightened out so that by next week it goes off without a hitch. And the other thing that I wanted to throw out there too was we're going to be getting a graphic up for this pretty soon. Is anybody who saw a video recently that Creepy posted that he's going through some hard times financially right now, and he doesn't want to be perceived as somebody who's e-begging, but anybody out there who wants to support him, to help him through this tough time he's having, his books are available. We have a link to his books here on the site, and I'm reading one of his books right now. It's great. He's a tremendous writer, and I encourage everybody to go out there and buy his work and support him.
All right. And with that concludes the episode of Casual Chats. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again for having me.
And tune in next time as we talk about another awesome topic here at Casual Chats. I'm Patricia.
And I'm Kevin.
And we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.